Hello folks. In this video I'm going to review the T20, which is a 48 volt pedal assist e-bike that's made by Coswheel. This bike has a hub motor rated for 500 watts continuous, 750 watts peak that can produce 50 Newton meters of torque and a top speed of around 45 kilometers an hour with the 20-inch by 4-inch fat tires. It comes with either a 10, 15, or 20 amp lithium-ion battery that's built into the top tube of the hydroformed 6061 T6 aluminum alloy frame, which Coswheel claims will provide a range of up to 40 to 50 kilometers in throttle-only mode, and up to 80 kilometers with pedal assist mode. We're going to test that later in this video. It has shock absorbers in both the front and rear suspension with up to 80 millimeters of travel. So you probably don't want to hit any big jumps with this, but the dual suspension combined with the fat tires really help to smooth out the bumps and trails for cross-country riding. The bike was delivered in a large cardboard box in a semi-assembled state. After unboxing and cutting the zip ties, I installed the stem and handlebars and double-checked that all of the bolts were tight in the head clamps before installing the adjustable seat that's secured in place with a quick-release post clamp. Then I flipped the bike over to install the front wheel with a quick-release skewer. Both the front and rear wheels are equipped with 160mm stainless steel brake discs. Next I installed the headlight. The front fender also fastens at this location, but I'm going to leave the fenders off for now. Then I installed the pedals and gave the wheels a spin to make sure everything is working fine. As I mentioned earlier, the battery is built into the top frame tube, but it's also removable with a key. You have to remove the seat first though, because the seat post runs straight through the center of the battery. The charge port for the 3 amp charger that Coswheel includes with the bike is located just above the handle, and the total charge time is around 6 hours. Once the bike was assembled, I turned it on to check the battery level and the display shows it's full. But from my experience with EVs and just about any battery-powered device, these bar-type battery level indicators can be off slightly, especially with a heavy load, so I put it on charge for about an hour to top it off. Once the battery was charged, I checked the lights and horn before heading out for a test ride. Notice that the display shows your speed and other information like the mileage and top speed. You can also change the power level for pedal assist, which gives you 5 different options, with 1 being the lowest setting and 5 being the highest. I'm starting off with just pedal power for now to get a feel for how well the shifter and gearing works before turning the pedal assist on. With the Shimano derailleur, everything seems to work pretty good. Shifting is fast and smooth, and the gearing seems ideal for both climbing steep hills and maintaining a reasonable speed on flat road. Satisfied that the mechanical is working fine, I turned on the electric powertrain to see how well that works. The pedal assist kicks in a second or two after you start pedaling, and it stops as soon as you stop pedaling. It's immediately noticeable even in the lowest setting. You can see on the display that I started out with nearly 9 kilometers already registered on the odometer because I took it out for a quick ride before recording to learn how everything worked, so I wasn't fumbling my way through it in the video. We don't have any bike trails or bike parks around here, so I stopped to see what the ATV trail looks like at the High Line. But there's been so much rain this fall that it's flooded. I could make it in another 100 yards or so, but there's a big water hole at that point which would be impossible to get through without carrying the bike and getting soaked. It's a bit too cold for that this time of year, so I decided to head out to the access road next to the highway. There are some big steep hills along the way which will put this bike's power and range through a proper test. From here on out, I'll be riding with the pedal assist at the highest level and using full throttle for almost the entire time. You can see that I'm maintaining a top speed between 40 to 45 kilometers an hour on the flat sections, so that's one claim that's been verified so far. This stretch of road has a lot of steep hills because we're right next to the St. John Riverbank. The entire region in general has a lot of big hills and small mountains because we're just south of the Appalachian Mountain Range. I'll take you to a vantage point at the end of the video so you can get a good look at the local landscape and the terrain that I've been driving on. I remember biking these hills when I was a kid, and it was brutal. Video never does them justice in terms of how steep they are. I am still pedaling while using full throttle to get over them, but with this bike I'm not breaking a sweat at all, and I'm 42 now. It's almost too easy. After a little break to warm up, I set off down the access road to find an even steeper and sketchier hill to climb. This road was built with gravel and crushed rock, and some of the hills are so steep that heavy rain washes out a good portion of the road. So I've got to be careful riding through here because the washouts can get pretty deep and dangerous, and sometimes they can be hard to see until they're just a few yards in front of you. hill that I'm about to go down is the one that I'm looking for. It's really steep and long, and I don't think I could make it back up with pedal power alone. It's also washed out in a few places, so I'll get a feel for how well the shocks absorb the bumps on the way down. It's hard to tell with stabilized footage, but it was a pretty bumpy ride down, and the suspension handled it well. Again, I wouldn't use this for extreme downhill mountain biking and jumping, but it's more than capable of handling cross-country riding like this. Now I'm heading back up the hill. I had to gear the bike way down and use full throttle, but again I had no problem climbing it without breaking a sweat. The battery level indicator is showing just 2 bars left while climbing, but it's under a heavy load, so it would probably rise back to 3 bars after resting for a few minutes. I'm going to head back home and climb one more hill to show you folks the landscape, and by then I should be just about out of power, so we'll see what the range for the trip was. At the highest point in the community, so I'm going to turn around at the church and pan across the field so you can see the landscape. That's Lake George on the other side of the trees below the field. Beyond that you can see all the rolling hills and small mountains in the region, and to the right is where we just came from. With the exception of the prairies, this is pretty much the norm for Canada. So it's a good place to test e-bike range and give folks a realistic idea of what to expect. Speaking of which, it looks like the battery is down to 1 or 2 bars, so I headed home before it died on me. It looks like the total range that I got this trip was a bit over 40 kilometers. Bear in mind, I used full throttle almost the entire time, so this is right on par with what Coswheel claims. And given the terrain and my experience building custom EVs of my own, that's a pretty good number for a 20 amp hour battery, considering the bike's power and weight. So that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, then please let me know by giving it a thumbs up or leaving a comment below. If you're interested in getting your own T20 e-bike, then check out the link in the video description and pinned comment. Thanks for watching, and take care, folks.